Welcome to stop 5 of our Ellis Island tour. Today we're exploring the Registry Room. The Registry Room was nicknamed the Great Hall because it was so big. The large rectangular room is 200 feet long and 102 feet wide. Many immigrants had never seen such a large indoor space. The waiting area in the Great Hall had long metal rails that helped maintain an orderly line as people went through the medical and legal inspection. Orderly just means like a neat or organized line. Wooden benches were added in 1903. The noise in the room could be intense. The sounds of thousands of voices bounced off the vaulted ceilings. So imagine our gymnasium when we would have the entire school in there and everyone's talking at the same time with those really high ceilings, it would be super loud. Officials in the Great Hall decided whether each person could enter the country right away or whether that person's case required further review. From 1903 to 1914, immigrants were checked for trachoma, a contagious eye disease. Doctors used a tool called a button hook to lift a person's eyelid to look for the disease. The button hook was a well-known and feared part of the immigration process. People with trachoma were often sent back to their home countries. We're going to check out some photos. So we're going to start with this first one. The registry room is also known as the Great Hall because of its large size. And in this photo, you can see that this is the railing to the second story. So doctors would stand along those railings to see if people were not walking well or if they were coughing or having trouble breathing. So they would pull those people out of line to make sure they got checked over by a doctor. And you can see that there's a lot of people sitting there. We have another picture. Immigrants waited their turn for processing. So you would have to stand in line, and this is where it would take hours and hours and hours because there were thousands of people. Here is a picture of a woman being examined at Ellis Island. Thousands of people were processed daily by immigrant officials. So you can see that you had the immigrants on one side and the officials on the other side, double checking, yes, your name was on this ship and your name was here and this is your information. They had to double check tickets and names matched up. After waiting their turn, immigrants met with the immigrant officials. And here, the registry room is adorned with US flags, and that just means it's decorated. So they added these flags here. So if we look from this picture here, you can see it used to be here. And then and then years later, they added them to the side here. So I'm going to go back to the did you know before we listen to the audio today. Many women were detained at Ellis Island. Women were not allowed to enter America alone until after World War II. Ellis Island officials would detain them because they were afraid the women would be unable to find relatives in America and be unable to support themselves. So detain means they would hold them until a brother, a father, a husband, a dad, some male, a cousin, an uncle was able to pick them up and say that they would help care for them. Children could be sent back to their home countries. After 1902, children under 16 had to be traveling with a parent. If they weren't, they could be sent back to their countries. So this is a great segue to our audio for today. Today we're going to hear from a little girl who is named Lucy, and she came from Turkey. And she talks about how a lot of the officials couldn't tell if children really belonged to the parents that they were traveling with, because we have birth certificates now, and we have special papers that say like, hey, yes, this is my child and this is when my child was born. But back then it wasn't the same. So we are going to listen to